Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new Art of the Game over here at Cabbit Crossing, where us three game masters in various games share some experiences and tips and tricks and do some debating. And today, Woody originally came up with the idea of the series. So, Woody, what are we talking about today?
Okay, so there is a thing that every game master probably tries to do at some point or another to varying degrees of success. I was originally calling it the body swap problem here, though, and of course, while brainstorming titles for the episode, the two-body problem came up, which I think is hilarious. But it really comes down to the idea that, and there's variations on this theme, but you have a couple major ones where one you have you have a doppelganger replace a player, right? And now the party has a villain in the group, but how do you have this happen without the player who's been replaced even knowing what's going on? Or do you write them into it, right? Make them included. Another possibility is maybe their bodies are actually swapped and minds are switched, and you got one of the players actually in someone else's body, and now that's his character here. Again, they think it's their friend, but it's actually someone else in their body. And then Greg, of course, brings up mind control, which is another real tough one too. How do you address some of these? Because some of the mind control spells deliberately make it obvious that the person's mind controlled. But this is a challenging thing, and I'm going to have a story I'm going to tell here in a short bit. Actually, I have two, but because every time I've tried to do it, it's kind of gone wrong, and but not necessarily in the same way every time. It's a very hard thing to do because you have to have the players in on it to some degree.
Yep.
Who wants to go first?
I'll just say very quickly, the only way I've ever done it is to have the players 100% in on it. I literally message them and say, this person has dominated you. And tell them what they say.
You had a game where you literally told one of the players that they have to start out as the villain. So it's not that different.
I don't remember that, but sounds like something I did.
I do, because I just listened to every episode.
Yeah. But usually that's my only way, is to get them 100% in on it.
Yeah, I think I've only maybe swapped people who are NPCs on people and then surprise them. Players, I think it's really, when I have secret talks, it's more about their secrets going on, trying not to keep that secret. It always does it's always a great effect when you're like, oh, come into the other room with me, and you talk to them, and you come back, and everybody's like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. No, oh my God, I've got a big one for that topic too. Well, one variant on this theme, actually, which surprised me that it would work, is that one of the dungeons in the Palladium Fantasy RPG, there's a room with gas in it, and you go in, and the players have that thing where they perceive every party member as a monster.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And it also creates an effect where they see shadows in the distance, where they think they're surrounded by other things. So it creates the effect where, like, oh, we're surrounded by monsters. Then then the players will attack them, right? And then when they attack, they're actually resolving their combat against another player. And it was surprising to me when I did that how long the combat went on before they actually figured out what was happening. I figured that would never work, but it's like, I think we literally had, because Palladium's rounds are 15 seconds with a bunch of attacks, but it was like, in a D&D context, it was like going for 3 full rounds of combat before the players even caught on.
Oh wow!
It was they beat the shit out of each other before they figured it out. It was amazing.
Was it theater of mind, or did you have a map?
That's the thing, is that one was theater of the mind. We had a map, but we weren't using minis that much at that point.
Okay, yeah.
At least for that game, right? We did have some minis for certain kinds of encounters, but in one like that, theater of the mind is the better way to go.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier to pull that off.
Yeah, exactly. But
Critical Role had a really good episode with that, where their assassin rogue basically went in and tried to assassinate a guard, and found out that they were actually just held. Their friend NPCs were being held person inside a suit of armor.
Yeah,
and he almost killed his own friend.
Well,
it was really good.
For me, I have tried to do. I may have tried to do it other times, but the two that really stand out, where it never really quite worked, because one of the players, he had the situation where he was playing a Cyber Knight in the Rifts RPG, and then he encounters this other Cyber Knight who's gone bad, and the Cyber Knight does a body swap, had acquired some way to do that, and so now this villain character is with the party, right? And then and then they split up, and then our friend has suddenly discovered he's with some other group now, and they think he's this big villain character who's leading them, and so now he's in amongst a bunch of villains, and he has to keep his cool, and then but then he knows he's done this, so I have to kind of get him in on it, right? So I'm like, you have to play the part, right? But he couldn't do it because he felt guilty and felt bad because he was going to be forced to betray his friends. So what ends up happening is the bizarrest thing. He's a dwarf. He's always drunk, right? And totally playing into the stereotype. And when they sit down to camp the next time, they're like, he goes, hey, can I get you something? He goes, I never touch the stuff. Like, so he used the fact that his that the villain probably wouldn't drink that much, to intentionally blow it. Like he did it on purpose, and then immediately, like, changeling go. It's like they, without even missing a beat, the other players, like, totally turned on him. Like
it's not a bad story though.
no, it's not a bad story, but it was amazing to me how quickly they concluded that he'd been replaced. They didn't even take 2 seconds. It was just,
wow.
Yeah.
I was just trying to stop drinking. All right.
Yeah. Who are you really? And it's like, holy shit. There wasn't even like a moment to discuss it. It was like instantly, let's get him. It was just unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've actually had the opposite problem where I would get the player in on it, at least with the dominate person, which I've done a couple of times before. Yeah. And one time the player was too good at it. Like would get around answering questions that they wouldn't know in a pretty smart way. And I was like, they should figure it out eventually. It's part of the fun.
Yeah. Well, the thing is though, is that, well, in that case, because it still is your character, right? Yeah. He still has that knowledge, right? But like the thing is that this is where it's kind of a problem, is you're going to do something like this, you have to make sure that you picked a player who's going to be in on it. Like in this case, I mean, it narratively made sense for my friend's dwarf character to be, to be picked, but it didn't make sense for him. And I honestly thought that this guy would be more into the idea, but it's like, what a time to get a crisis of conscience, dude. I mean, like all the shit you do and you feel bad about that, and so, like, I definitely have friends that I know would be in on this, like they would be all in, but there are clearly people that aren't, and so it kind of gets back to the, keep saying this, read the room. You gotta, and the problem with it too is once you've approached the player rejects the idea, you've kind of ruined it now, because he now or she now knows that you're thinking of this, which means that they're immediately going to be suspicious and they can't not metagame to some degree. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost did. There's a Mithras White Death, and there's an option in there to make one of you guys a spy. Yeah. And I asked Julie if she wanted to do that, and she didn't want to. So I almost did it.
Yeah. Well, like my friend Jeff, he's in for everything. Like if I said let's do it, hell yeah. I went to Keenan, hell yeah. Right? These guys would be in on it. But like my wife, I don't think so. She wants to kick people in the balls and beat them over the head with stuff, and get the treasure, and So okay, so the other one that I had, and this is the disaster one, where like this is again like worst case scenario, why you have to be very careful, is I had this player who was with us who's kind of he's okay, but he was a little bit of a handful, not whatever. So anyway, so he wasn't going to stay with the campaign, right? He was leaving because confidence issues with this guy, I think. But anyways, he was leaving, so I had used his departure as an excuse to do one of these things where the party were on a spaceship. There were various threats and monsters throughout the ship, right? And so there was going to be a point where his character would be like crawling through some maintenance ducts, would get eaten and consumed by some monster, and then that monster would turn into him, right? And then replace him, okay? And then the party would at some point find his bones, and then they'd have to do an autopsy and discover who it really was, right? And at this point, the character would be with them for a couple, sessions, right? Enough for them to like get used to the idea that he's still there and kind of let their guard down. And so the idea was to have a fight against this guy. Would basically do the fight and go back and forth, but like your instructions are make it challenging. Don't necessarily try to kill somebody if somebody dies, whatever. But like you're there to kind of like create a challenge for them because this monster is going to be very powerful and it could be a fun encounter. And like the threat of like, oh my God, our friend died. Right. And they would not necessarily know, like it would be more tragic because like, oh, we're losing a player because they didn't know he was departing either. And so I was trying to create this whole experience and he totally agreed to everything. And then when he showed up to the game, he fucked me. The guy just fucked me hard because instead of doing what the plan was, no, man, he went rogue. Okay. He's like, I'm going to kill all the characters. And he went for it. And he actually complained publicly to everybody. Oh, I wanted to kill somebody. I'm going to get you, Ben. And it's like, he's just actively calling out, I'm going to get your character. And then I'm just like, what the? I literally wanted to drag him into the next room by his ear. What the F is wrong with you? And, instead I just kind of let it play out. And then,
I could see why it was a problem play.
Yes. but he was literally to everybody complaining that he didn't kill any player characters.
Wow.
He came close, but like, I'm just like, oh my God. So yeah, read the room, man. Like it was not, what a horror show, right? Because like I had this all planned out. I talked to the guy. He totally agreed. He was in on it. And then it was like, he didn't remember the agreement or anything. It was just,
I think he had some built-in anger, something going on there.
I don't know.
Sounds like
and then later on, when I was a GM to this guy, he's like absolutely singling me out and ruining my experience on purpose. It was like he had something kind of feel like maybe I was being targeted, but yeah.
Uh-oh.
I've had a one shot where someone, I told him at the very beginning that they're the bad guy. He did end up killing one of the other players, but that's fine. No one cares.
Well,
it's a one shot.
I mean, the players have to be in on it, in on the joke, right?
Yeah. I mean, for a one shot, I don't think anyone cares. But for an ongoing campaign, I can see how it causes hostility.
Yeah.
Even then, most of my players would be okay with it. Even on a longer term campaign. I only have one group that tends to get really unhealthily attached to their characters, I guess. Sometimes.
Yeah, I played with a group once that I did Delta Green with, and they freaked out. So they lost 90 points in real life.
well, like I think that getting attached to a character's part is very easy when you don't play much. Like in my case, if when a character goes down, it's very disappointing. But like I have vast spans of being a game master and little experience as being a player, and then another vast span of being a GM. So I don't get to have that experience enough to get it out of my system.
I'm actually the opposite. I get bored of my characters. I don't know why. Like I'll make this like pages long backstory with all this intricacy, trying to weave my story throughout everything. And by the 5th session, I'm like, God, I'm bored of this character. I want to go make a new one.
So do you guys have anything more to contribute? Because I actually kind of thought you guys would have more of these experiences yourself, because like
I only have I've only ever had it to where dominated. And one that's happened a lot is where someone does like an insight check and they fail badly and they get bad information or something like that. Right. That one will happen a lot. But my solution is always just get the players in on it. It sounds like that's your solution too, but with the caveat that make sure that it's a player that can handle it, right?
Well, the thing about it is you can actually drag it out. Like you could have the player like go on for a period of time and only then discover they got replaced after a couple sessions. It's just like the longer you let it go, like it kind of starts to strain the suspension of disbelief, because it's like this new character, their abilities might be different, or maybe they don't really know how to use everything that the player has, right? And so you can't drag it on too long. But it's like I think it's easier to sell it when the player has been with the party for a session or two while being replaced. Because if you have the event that replaces them and then you discover it's a swap immediately, like once this is spit, like if it's too close to the swap part, then like the players are more likely to catch on, in a way you don't necessarily want them to. It just occurred to me there is another variant on this, which is very, very hard to do. I think it's harder to do, actually, is that like you have the situation where there's two of you, right? And which one's the real one, right? And that one's really tough because you have a player right there who's clearly the right one.
Right.
Yeah.
and like I
just
actually
have the player play both, and he doesn't know which one's which.
Yeah, totally. And like that's a tough one. And I have tried to do it once before and it didn't work. I'm actually not even really sure how to pull that one off. And I'd love to hear in the comments if somebody's ever done that successfully.
Yeah. I think one of the best ways to do this, by the way, would be to if the player can't come that session. Right? It makes everything easy then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which one's the real one? And I mean, because I have had I've seen people do it. Like I think they had a storyline at Nights at the Dinner Table about that, and it's like there's lots of skits where or gags, different sketch shows where they kind of do that, where I do it sometimes on Star Trek or something, and so it's just that's the problem is like that is a great gag. That's like a good setup for like a dramatic challenge. It's just there's a player right there, and unless you can set up somewhere where the player doesn't know which one they are,
maybe
it's tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky. Yeah, and this is a good topic to talk about because like again, like every GM is going to try this at some point. Like it's very common to try to do these things.
If you have a player that's willing to do it though, if you have a player that's willing to do it though, they can actually play both of them too. Yeah. Like you can tell the player what knowledge they would or wouldn't have, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's always the easiest. But again, you definitely have to know your players for that. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't. There's a few I would trust to that though. I mean, quite a few.
I think it basically boils down to though is like you have to know your players. You have to know if you want to do this. You have to look at the one that is going to be in on it, and don't waste time on somebody that is like maybe a wild card.
And and in the story, try to justify somehow how the doppelganger, the changeling, whatever it is, would have some amount of knowledge, because if they don't know anything about the character, it's dumb. You're going to find out in 2 seconds, right? Give them some way to know something.
Yeah.
Or if it's a brain devour, what do they call it? Mind devour?
Brain puppy.
Brain puppy. Yes, thank you. Then they gain all the knowledge that he had.
Yeah, and you can stretch it out a little bit too, because like what I like is when because sooner or later you have to drop the other shoe and reveal it, right? And so I actually kind of like when the players can look back and go, when did it happen? And they go, oh yeah, that thing that we didn't notice. And it's so obvious in retrospect.
Yeah.
I feel it's a very Call of Cthulhu thing. We just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Well, like if they're a loudmouth, instead they're just hanging out in the corner, not speaking to people, stuff like that.
Well,
later you go back and go, oh, that's why they were doing that.
Yeah, well, it's also kind of like some of the things with like the tactics we talk about in these episodes, right? Like, the certain strategies for creating drama or making enemies threatening. It's like, it's kind of like how you can only take somebody's sister hostage so many times, and so it's like, when you're doing this particular idea for a plot, you can't do it again with the same group. I mean, I guess if you could pull it off, hats off to you, man. But it's like, they're going to get suspicious after a while, right? Like, and so
I'm going to do one where you all find out you're all doppelgangers.
I've actually, no, you know what? I've actually seen that one where I
think Voyager did something like that actually, or something.
Well, no, All for One. There's
I remember the Voyager one.
There's a YouTube series. God bless it, I don't remember. But like one of there's one of those New Zealand based groups. It's not just Dirt League. It's the other one. But they do D&D skits, and they
Viva,
had this
whatever.
No, well, Viva La Dirt is the one that he's saying it's not. Is it Dark Deer Studios?
Deerstalker, and
Deerstalker.
I think they're Australian, but they did one of those where they did a gag like that, and it turned out the entire party was the changeling, and they didn't know
I saw that
everybody else was changelings. It was great.
That's funny.
Yeah,
they're pretty funny.
Yeah, so and that would be a fun twist on it. Like you tell every member of the party that they've replaced somebody, in the party, and then they're trying to do that. And then they discover none of them are actually the party. The party's off here doing some other shit.
Yeah,
that would be effing amazing.
Yeah, we should totally go to the evil queen and say hi. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
I guess so. We're heroes, right? Let's go do this.
Oh my God, that would be spectacular.
It'd be so awkward.
That would. Okay, I kind of want to do that now.
I know, but now we can't do it with each other because we know.
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. But I wonder if I could get away with that with my party. Like that would be a good Halloween thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you go to somebody and go, okay, no, you're actually the doppelganger. They're like, oh, okay, cool. And then the thing about my Sunday group is I think everybody would be in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat, don't watch this episode. Oh, it's probably too late if you got this.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's weird because this is one of those episodes where I thought there'd be more meat on the bone for this one. So
I think I personally shy away from it sometimes because I'm afraid of players don't always like their agency taken away. It's just not all the players are really down for that.
Some people love it though. I would love it if someone gave it to me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like in our first episode, one of the things I said was that if you're trying to build the trust of the players, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can get their trust, you can get away with anything. Like if you're a new GM and you pull this stunt, it's probably not a good.
Then you break their trust.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the things that you do when you've got some experience. There should never be something that you roll out when you're brand new to do GMing. But like if you have the trust of the players, where they know you're going to come up with good stuff and you're going to give them things and they things they can work with and have good drama and good adventure, like. They're going to be on board and they're going to be very forgiving and you'll be able to get away with this, but you got to pick the right people, which apparently I have never done. So,
well, I think all the genre play people would do it. So we'll see what happens.
If you need someone to turn against your other players, just call me, Woody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg will happily do it. He only charges $20 a session. And he'll show up. Yeah.
Let me just get my chainsaw.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great. Well, hopefully everyone found something helpful out of this episode. Let us know in the comments if you have any experiences you'd like to share or any thoughts, and we'll make it a conversation. And don't forget to subscribe, so you know when we got new episodes coming out. We're almost weekly, usually weekly. And
I hope somebody enjoyed hearing the guy got fucked. Somebody tried to ruin my campaign.
You mean fucked hard?
Yeah. Oh my God. No KY on that one. They decided to destroy my campaign.
Going in dry.
Yeah. Okay.
And now the YouTube algorithm hates us. No. Thanks for watching, everybody, and until next time.
Yeah, I'm all they hear about me is go, please.
Keep moisturized.
Yeah.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky. But when they crash, it's a belly laugh. Genre play lighting the way. Our tales are